I never imagined I'd develop trust issues with my own parents. Growing up, they instilled in me values of honesty, integrity, and family loyalty. But sitting in my Tesla that Wednesday afternoon, staring at my phone with trembling fingers as I read my mother's accidentally sent text message, my stomach twisted into knots. Everything I believed about my family suddenly felt like an elaborate facade. Let me back up a bit. I'm Eliza Hammond, 34, and until 6 months ago, I was living what most would consider the American dream, a system architect at a leading fintech company, a sleek condominium in San Francisco, and over $400,000 in savings plus startup equity that made me feel confident about my future. My heart raced with pride whenever I thought about how I'd earned every bit of it myself, working through Stanford on scholarships and student loans, then climbing the corporate ladder one sleepless project at a time. My parents, Warren and Lillian Hammond, lived differently. Dad had been an economics professor at a small private college, and Mom was a former real estate agent who'd closed her business a decade ago. They weren't destitute, but their finances were perpetually strained. Their 1970s suburban house, purchased when I was learning to walk, had deteriorated badly. The foundation was crumbling, the plumbing leaked constantly, and the outdated electrical system threatened to fail with each passing year. Every visit home became an inventory of decay. "Look at these foundation cracks, Eliza," Mom would sigh dramatically while scrolling through luxury home renovations on her phone. "We should really get this fixed, but contractors charge a fortune these days." Or Dad would casually mention during dinner how his former colleague just renovated their entire home, his eyes flickering with envy as he added, "Wouldn't it be nice to finally have a residence befitting my academic career?" I tried my best to help them. Holiday gifts were always practical necessities: a new furnace one year, car repairs the next. The guilt gnawed at me constantly as I wrote each check, but it never seemed sufficient. Their home was deteriorating faster than my financial band-aids could repair it. Then came the structural assessment last winter. An engineering inspection revealed critical foundation damage that threatened the entire house. The insurance company rejected the claim as age-related deterioration, and my parents' meager savings couldn't begin to cover the repairs. I found them huddled at their weathered kitchen table, surrounded by inspection reports with alarming red highlights and denied insurance claims, looking more defeated than I'd ever seen them. "We'll have to sell for land value," Dad said, his academic authority crumbling along with the house. "Take whatever pittance we can get and move into some anonymous apartment complex." Mom was scrolling through her Instagram feed with tears streaming down her face. All those memories, Warren. Eliza's height marks on the doorframe, my garden that all my followers have watched grow for years. My chest tightened with anxiety watching them. Why should they lose everything? I had the means to help, nearly $400,000 saved for my dream of launching my own fintech startup by 35. Family obligations tugged at my conscience. Wasn't this what a good daughter would do? What if? I began, my heart racing with a mixture of generosity and apprehension. What if I helped you rebuild? Not just patch things up, but create the dream home you've always deserved? They both looked up at me, Mom's tears miraculously drying as her eyes widened with excitement. "Eliza, sweetheart, we could never ask this of you," Dad protested, though I caught the gleam of anticipation in his eyes as he straightened his posture. "You're not asking, I'm offering," I replied decisively, my fingers tightening around my phone. "I have the resources, enough to demolish this house and build you something worthy, something that will stand for decades." Mom's tears returned, but her Instagram-perfect smile told a different story. She embraced me with surprising strength, her designer perfume nearly suffocating me. "You're our blessing, Eliza. We raised such a thoughtful daughter." Looking back now, warning bells should have sounded when their token protests transformed so seamlessly into acceptance, how effortlessly they pivoted from "we could never" to discussing their dream home features. My heart swelled with such satisfaction at being their savior that I missed all the signs. The following months passed in a blur of decisions and payments. We engaged a highly recommended building consultant, Marcus Rivera, who specialized in luxury custom homes. My parents temporarily relocated to my aunt's place while their old house was demolished and the new one constructed. I liquidated my investments, secured a supplementary loan to accommodate their vision, and construction commenced. Every decision required my approval since I was financing the project. Or that's what the agreement stipulated, anyway. Mom and Dad participated in every virtual meeting with Marcus, selecting premium finishes, state-of-the-art appliances, and extravagant features I hadn't realized existed. Each time the budget expanded, they'd give me those expectant looks during our video calls. "It's just another few thousand, sweetie. We'll finally have the home that reflects our standing in the community." I confess I became swept up in their excitement. When Mom insisted on imported Italian marble countertops instead of standard granite, I approved the change order. When Dad proposed a professional-grade home theater system for the finished basement, I nodded during our video consultation. The expenses multiplied exponentially, but I rationalized each one. This was for my parents. This was what good daughters do. Construction spanned 4 months. Every weekend I'd drive from San Francisco to monitor the progress. The new residence was stunning, a modern craftsman with smart home integration, floor-to-ceiling windows, and every luxury amenity they'd ever coveted. Watching their faces illuminate during each walkthrough made my depleting bank account feel like a worthwhile sacrifice. Finally, 2 weeks ago, construction concluded. Mom and Dad moved in, and I helped unpack their belongings. Their childlike excitement was palpable as they exclaimed over each feature, planning furniture arrangements and photographing every room for social media. I'd never witnessed such genuine happiness in them. "We're hosting a housewarming gathering next weekend," Mom announced as she arranged designer accessories in the kitchen. "You'll arrive early to help coordinate, won't you, Eliza?" Of course, I smiled, admiring how the afternoon sunlight streamed through the expansive windows. I wouldn't miss it for anything. That's what brought me here today, arriving early to assist with party preparations. I parked in the circular driveway, another upgrade that had added $15,000 to the budget, and was approaching the house when a notification lit up my phone. Mom had accidentally sent me a message clearly intended for her former real estate colleague. "Of course we'll sell it once she completes the loan payments. She's too trusting to check whose name is on the deed." I froze, my hand hovering inches from the doorbell. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Can you believe it, Janet?" Mom continued, laughing with evident delight as she spoke through what must have been her AirPods. She simply transferred her entire savings without question. All those years of instilling financial responsibility finally worked to our advantage. "Once we sell this property, we can secure that beachfront condo in Naples we've been eyeing. Eliza will accept it. She always does. She's our perfect, dutiful daughter." My knees weakened beneath me. I gripped the modern steel railing for support, my mind racing through every conversation, every decision, every moment of blind trust. The deed. Throughout the entire design and construction process, I'd never actually verified whose name was on the property title. I just assumed. But that was precisely their strategy, wasn't it? They counted on me not checking, relied on their good daughter to trust them implicitly. I closed my eyes, inhaled deeply to steady myself, and pulled my laptop from my designer bag. As a systems architect, I carried it everywhere, a professional habit after years of critical infrastructure emergencies. Setting it on the outdoor console table, I launched a browser with shaking hands. County property records were public and searchable. Within moments, I found what I dreaded. There it was, displayed starkly on my screen, the deed to 247, Ocean View Drive, registered exclusively to Warren and Lillian Hammond. My name appeared nowhere on the legal document. $400,000. My startup seed money. My fintech innovation dreams evaporated. And for what purpose? So my parents could flip the house I financed and purchase themselves a retirement paradise? I heard Mom ending her call inside, detected her cheerful humming as she moved around the kitchen. The premium kitchen I'd paid for, in the house I'd financed, that they were scheming to sell from beneath me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. As a systems architect, my expertise extended far beyond coding. I understood financial structures, network security, digital authentication, and most crucially, I understood how to trace and document electronic trails. Mom's humming approached the entrance. Any moment she would open the door and discover me here, find me with my laptop displaying the property records, with their betrayal exposed before me. I faced a critical decision. I could confront them immediately, demand explanations, create discord before their precious housewarming celebration. That's what they'd anticipate from someone who just uncovered such treachery, their reliable daughter, hurt and furious, making emotional demands that would ultimately resolve nothing. Or I could approach this strategically. I could employ my professional strengths, analyze the system vulnerabilities, document the security breaches, and implement a systematic solution. After all, they'd educated me thoroughly about family obligations, responsibility, and repaying what you owe. The door handle rotated. I closed my laptop, arranged my features into a welcoming smile, and prepared to deliver the performance of my career. "Eliza, sweetheart, you're early," Mom exclaimed, embracing me enthusiastically. She smelled of artisanal pastries and luxury fragrance, undoubtedly another recent acquisition funded by my diminishing bank account. "I wouldn't miss this for anything," I responded, returning her hug while my mind calculated potential strategies. "This is going to be quite an unforgettable event." She had no idea how accurate my prediction would prove. As I followed her into the house, my house by any ethical standard if not legally, my mind was already architecting a secure protocol to resolve this breach of trust. Mom and Dad had instilled countless lessons about family loyalty, trust, and consequences throughout my childhood. Now I would demonstrate how thoroughly I'd mastered those principles. The celebration was at its peak, and I observed my parents navigating the social dynamics with practiced precision. Mom continuously directed attention to the custom crown moldings and imported Italian light fixtures, while Dad enthusiastically showcased the integrated smart home theater system in the basement. Every few minutes, one of them would deliberately embrace me, publicly thanking their brilliant, generous daughter within earshot of their guests. If they detected my rigid posture during these calculated displays of appreciation, they gave no indication. For 3 excruciating hours, I'd maintained a perfect smile until my facial muscles ached, performing the role of the devoted daughter while my mind methodically analyzed variables and constructed contingency plans. "Eliza, darling," Mom called across the crowded great room. "Come explain to the Prestons about the imported marble countertops you selected." I hadn't chosen them, naturally. The Italian Calicotta marble had been Mom's insistence, adding another $17,000 to the already inflated budget. Nevertheless, I approached the group, maintaining my carefully constructed facade. "Actually, Mom curated those selections," I clarified, running my fingertips across the cool, veined surface. "She has exceptional aesthetic judgment." "Oh, don't be so modest," Mom interjected, wrapping her arm possessively around my shoulders. "Eliza managed everything. We're incredibly fortunate to have such an accomplished daughter who prioritizes her parents' well-being." Mrs. Preston nodded with apparent admiration. "That level of family commitment is increasingly rare these days. Our children hardly communicate, let alone provide significant financial support." "Well," I replied, meeting Mom's gaze directly, "family obligations are paramount, aren't they? Eventually, everyone receives exactly what they've earned." Something in my measured tone must have penetrated her awareness, because Mom's practiced smile momentarily wavered. Before she could respond, I excused myself to verify arrangements with the catering service. Alone in the kitchen, I pulled out my smartphone and composed a message to Marcus Rivera, the building consultant, following up on our documentation discussion. "Could you please forward all signed approvals and change orders required for my financial records and tax purposes?" I anticipated what his response would reveal. Every change order, every upgrade, every budget increase had required authorization, and since I was financing the project, they all needed my signature. However, I strongly suspected that after the initial legitimate approvals, my parents had grown impatient with the approval process delays. My phone vibrated almost immediately. Marcus had responded, "Absolutely, Eliza. I'll have everything compiled and securely transferred by Monday morning." Perfect. Initial phase of my strategic response was underway. I rejoined the gathering, acquiring a glass of Cabernet en route. In the expansive living room, Dad was demonstrating the integrated smart home system to his country club associates. "Observe this functionality," he proclaimed, using his smartphone to adjust the ambient lighting and lower the motorized window treatments. Cutting-edge technology throughout. Our Eliza ensured we received nothing but premium solutions. "Must have required significant capital investment," one of his associates observed. Dad dismissed the comment with a casual wave. Every dollar was worthwhile. This is our permanent residence, after all. I nearly choked on my Cabernet at his blatant lie. Composing myself, I discreetly checked my phone and slipped onto the expansive patio for privacy. "Blackwell Corporate Law," a polished voice answered. "I'd like to schedule a consultation regarding property ownership law and electronic signature fraud," I stated quietly. "Preferably early next week. We have availability Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. with Ms. Blackwell herself. Would that work for your schedule?" "Ideal," I confirmed, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as my parents continued showcasing my investment to their social circle. "Could you advise what documentation I should prepare for our meeting?" As the assistant detailed the requirements, I mentally cataloged the information. Most essential documents were already secured in my encrypted cloud storage. As a systems architect, I'd learned to maintain comprehensive records of all financial transactions. The remaining evidence I could obtain from Marcus and my financial institution's digital archives. The gathering finally dispersed around 9 p.m. As the last guests departed, Mom and Dad sank into their designer sectional sofa, radiating self-satisfaction. "That was an unqualified success," Mom sighed contentedly, scrolling through the evening's photos on her phone. Everyone was absolutely captivated. "As they should be," Dad added, adjusting his posture to appear more professorial. "This residence embodies everything we've aspired to." He turned to me with practiced sincerity. "We're eternally grateful, Eliza." I perched tentatively on an accent chair, deliberately swirling my remaining wine. No gratitude necessary. As Mom consistently reminds me, family obligations are paramount. "Exactly right," Mom beamed. "Oh, before I forget, the property tax assessment arrived yesterday. It's substantially higher than anticipated with the new valuation. We were wondering. You're hoping I'll cover those expenses as well?" I completed her thought. "Just temporarily until our finances stabilize," Dad interjected hastily. "My investment portfolio isn't performing as projected, and with the increased utility costs for this square footage." I feigned thoughtful consideration. "Forward me the assessment. I'll evaluate what can be arranged." They visibly relaxed. Of course they would, their dutiful daughter had never established boundaries before. "You're such a blessing," Mom declared, rising to embrace me. "The Prestons are coming for dinner next Saturday. You'll join us, won't you?" Barbara has been eager to see the finished property. I wouldn't miss it, I smiled mechanically, reciprocating her embrace. But I should return home now. Early strategy meeting tomorrow. As I drove back to San Francisco that night, I experienced an unusual tranquility. The initial devastation of their betrayal had transformed into something crystalline and focused. They assumed I was naive, too trusting to verify the deed, too emotionally invested to question their intentions. They'd relied on my conditioned compliance, my lifetime of meeting their expectations. But they'd overlooked something critical. I was their daughter, shaped by their own lessons. I had learned from experts. The following morning, I arrived at the office before sunrise. My development team faced a critical implementation deadline, providing the perfect excuse to work extended hours and avoid unexpected parental visits. Between system architecture sessions, I began methodically assembling evidence. First, I extracted my complete banking records documenting every transfer to Rivera Construction. Next, I compiled all email communications about the project, particularly threads where my parents had explicitly requested premium upgrades. Then I created a comprehensive financial spreadsheet tracking every dollar I'd provided them over the past decade, not just for the house, but every transaction. The student loan payments I'd covered when they co-signed, the luxury vehicle down payment for Mom's birthday, the temporary credit card debt assistance that was never reimbursed. By Wednesday, Marcus had transmitted the complete construction documentation through secure file transfer. Just as I'd anticipated, there were dozens of change orders bearing my digital signature, though I'd only authorized the initial few. The others were clearly falsified, my parents having apparently grown confident in their exploitation of my trust and the digital signature platform's vulnerabilities. I brought this comprehensive digital portfolio to my consultation with Blackwell Corporate Law on Tuesday. Vanessa Blackwell, a formidable specialist in property law and electronic fraud, listened attentively as I methodically presented my case. "Let me ensure I've correctly understood the situation," she stated when I concluded. "You provided the entirety of funding for this residential construction, yet the property deed names only your parents. You possess evidence demonstrating they forged your electronic signatures on multiple legal documents, and you have direct evidence of their expressed intention to liquidate the property for their exclusive financial benefit?" "Precisely," I confirmed. "And I can verify through banking records that every dollar originated from my accounts." She nodded thoughtfully, her expression calculating. "We have an exceptionally strong case. The electronic signature forgery alone constitutes criminal fraud. Combined with the financial documentation and their explicitly stated intent to sell, we could potentially force liquidation and recover your investment, quite possibly with substantial punitive damages." "That's not precisely my objective," I replied carefully. "At least not immediately. Initially, I want to secure my position, ensure they cannot sell or leverage the property without my explicit knowledge and consent." Vanessa raised an eyebrow, her interest clearly piqued. "You have a specific strategic approach in mind?" I smiled with newfound confidence. They instilled in me that family takes care of family. I plan to demonstrate exceptional care for them. As I exited the law offices, my phone vibrated with a message from Mom. "Don't forget dinner with the Prestons Saturday. We're something sophisticated. Barbara's daughter just announced her engagement to that tech entrepreneur, and I want you to see her ring. Perhaps it will motivate you to prioritize your personal life." I responded with a brief "looking forward to it," accompanied by an appropriate emoji. Then I contacted my financial institution to arrange a meeting with their fraud investigation department. Phase 2 of my strategy was commencing. Saturday evening materialized more rapidly than anticipated. I arrived at my parents' residence, my property, ethically if not yet legally, at precisely 6 p.m. Through the expansive front windows, I observed Mom arranging floral displays on the dining table, crystal vase, fresh-cut designer arrangements, another expenditure on their seemingly infinite list. I smoothed my high-end cocktail dress, purchased during more financially prudent days, and collected the bottle of reserve Cabernet I'd brought. Time to deliver another calculated performance. "Eliza." Mom greeted me with practiced enthusiasm. "You look stunning. The Prestons aren't here yet. Barbara just messaged that they're running slightly behind schedule. Help me finish preparing in the kitchen." Dad was meticulously arranging appetizers. He'd clearly been studying culinary presentation videos on their new 85-inch OLED smart TV with integrated surround sound. "How's work progressing, darling?" he inquired, precisely positioning prosciutto-wrapped asparagus spears on an artisanal platter. "Demanding," I answered truthfully. Though I had a particularly illuminating consultation with my financial strategist this week. Both immediately halted their activities, their movements frozen mid-task. "Really?" Mom's tone maintained careful neutrality. "Indeed." She provided fascinating insights regarding property investment structures and tax optimization strategies. I began arranging artisanal cheeses on another serving board, maintaining deliberately casual body language. Were you aware that California has specific statutes governing property title transfers and substantial gift tax implications? Apparently, the IRS maintains heightened scrutiny of large financial transfers between immediate family members. The doorbell chimed before either could formulate a response. Perfect timing by the Prestons. The subsequent 2 hours tested my self-restraint as I observed my parents hosting lavishly in the residence I'd financed. Barbara Preston's daughter displayed her engagement ring, a tasteful but modest solitaire, while Mom made thinly veiled observations about how I was committed exclusively to my career. But we're fortunate she's successful enough to provide us this stunning home, Mom added smoothly. Barbara, so many children abandon their parents after achieving financial success, but not our Eliza. I manufactured a tight smile. Family responsibilities are fundamental, aren't they? Which reminds me, Dad, have you reviewed those property assessment documents I requested? He cleared his throat uncomfortably. Not yet, sweetheart. Been preoccupied with settling into the new environment. No urgency, I responded with deliberate sweetness. I'm confident the county assessor's office will accommodate our timeline. After the Prestons departed, I assisted Mom with cleanup while Dad retreated to his executive media room in the basement. As we loaded the dishwasher, she studied me intently. You seem somehow different lately, Eliza. Is everything all right? I carefully positioned a crystal wine glass in the rack. Simply focused on work and strategic financial planning. Protecting our investments is essential, wouldn't you agree? She gave me a searching look but abandoned further inquiry. The following morning, I reconnected with Vanessa Blackwell. She had developments to share. Our digital forensics specialists have confirmed it, she stated, transferring a comprehensive report to my tablet. The electronic signatures on those change orders were unquestionably falsified. We've also documented every financial transaction you contributed. The question remains, what course of action do you wish to pursue? I accessed my own secure digital portfolio. I want to file a property lien immediately. And I want to implement it through channels that won't alert them until alternatives are eliminated. Vanessa nodded with professional approval. Strategically sound. A construction lien would be ideal. You provided the capital for development, establishing clear standing. They'll be unable to sell or refinance without addressing your legal position. What's the implementation timeline? We can initiate filing Monday. It will be officially recorded by week's end. They'll remain unaware unless they specifically examine the property records database. I smiled with quiet confidence. They won't. They never verified documentation. Over the subsequent days, events unfolded precisely according to my strategic framework. The lien was filed discreetly yet officially. I maintained my established pattern of periodic visits and family gatherings, observing as my parents entrenched themselves in their luxury lifestyle. They began hosting increasingly frequent social events, showcasing their new residence to any willing audience. During each occasion, they would publicly acknowledge their exceptionally generous daughter, never suspecting that their generous daughter was methodically constructing legal safeguards around their supposed dream home. Then arrived the message I'd been anticipating. Darling, could you possibly visit tomorrow? We need to discuss an important matter. I knew precisely what prompted this. I'd observed a certified envelope from the county tax assessor's office in their mailbox yesterday. The updated property valuation would triple their tax obligation compared to their previous residence. Certainly, I replied. I can arrive after my evening meetings. That evening, I found them positioned at their imported Italian marble kitchen island, visibly concerned. Various official documents were spread across the surface. Eliza, sweetheart, Mom began tentatively, we're facing an unexpected situation. The property taxes, they're substantially higher than our projections. And with the increased utility expenses, we've been considering. Dad interrupted. Perhaps we should explore downsizing options. This residence might exceed our practical capabilities. I maintained a carefully neutral expression. Downsizing? But this is your dream home. You declared it was exactly what you'd always wanted. Well, yes, Mom acknowledged, fidgeting with her artisanal coffee mug. But we've already received inquiries from potential buyers. The Preston's son is searching for property in this neighborhood, and when they toured during the housewarming. You've been engaging with prospective buyers? I interjected, allowing calculated surprise to color my tone. Merely preliminary discussions, Dad assured hastily. Nothing formalized. But if we sold, we could acquire something more manageable. And naturally, we'd allocate a portion of the proceeds to you as appreciation for your contribution. A portion of the proceeds. Not the full amount. Not even the majority. Just a fraction. I inhaled deeply. That represents a significant decision. Have you investigated the legal requirements? The tax consequences? Mom dismissed my concerns with a casual wave. Oh, we'll manage those details. You've contributed more than enough already. I stood, smoothing my tailored slacks. Before finalizing any decisions, perhaps you should examine the property records. Simply to verify everything is properly documented. What exactly are you suggesting? Dad's voice carried a distinct edge. Oh, I replied, moving toward the door. Property titles, liens, legal encumbrances, all those tedious details you neglected to review while falsifying my electronic signatures on the change orders. Absolute silence followed. What did you just say? Mom's voice emerged barely audible. I turned back, smiling with newfound authority. Review the records, Mom. I believe you'll discover this property isn't as readily marketable as you assumed. Contact me afterward. I'm certain we'll have numerous points to address. As I walked out, I heard Dad frantically accessing his laptop. They would discover the lien shortly, initiating the true negotiation phase. Strategic implementation was complete. Time for the resolution protocol. They attempted to contact me 23 times that night. I observed the notifications illuminating my phone screen as I sat in my waterfront condominium, sipping premium green tea and reviewing the final legal documents Vanessa had prepared. Each voicemail message conveyed escalating desperation. Eliza, darling, we need to communicate immediately. Please return our calls. You're misinterpreting everything. How could you betray your own parents this way? That final message provoked genuine laughter. How could I betray them? The irony was almost overwhelmingly perfect. I deliberately waited until morning to respond, sending a concise message. My legal representative will arrive at the property at 2 p.m. She has documentation requiring your review. Mom replied within seconds, legal representative? Eliza, we're family. Legal intervention is unnecessary between family members. Check your secured email account, I responded. I've transmitted copies of all falsified electronic change orders. We can address these matters with legal representation present. No further communication followed. At precisely 2 p.m., I arrived behind Vanessa's sleek Audi in their circular driveway. My parents waited anxiously at the entrance, their appearance suggesting significant sleep deprivation. Before we proceed, I confirmed with Vanessa, is all documentation properly prepared? She patted her designer portfolio. Every document is finalized according to your specifications. Inside, we convened at the dining table, the custom handcrafted set that had added $13,500 to the budget. Mom repeatedly twisted her diamond tennis bracelet while Dad maintained rigid focus on the table surface. Let's commence, Vanessa stated, presenting documentation. We possess verified evidence of fraudulent electronic signatures on construction documents totaling $212,000 in unauthorized modifications. We also have documented proof of Mrs. Hammond's explicitly stated intention to liquidate the property without compensating Eliza for her investment exceeding $400,000. Furthermore, we have the recorded deed demonstrating deliberate exclusion of Eliza from property ownership despite her providing complete financial funding. We fully intended to reimburse her. Mom protested weakly. Using what resources? I inquired calmly. The proceeds from selling my investment without my consent or knowledge? Dad finally met my gaze. We're your parents, Eliza. Everything we've done has been for the benefit of this family. No, I corrected precisely. Everything I've done has been for this family. What you've done constitutes criminal fraud. Vanessa presented 3 document portfolios. You have 3 options. Option 1. We proceed with criminal charges regarding electronic signature forgery and civil litigation for financial fraud. Option 2. You transfer complete property ownership to Eliza. Option 3. You refinance the property immediately to repay Eliza's full investment plus interest. Mom's hands trembled as she accessed the documents. Her complexion paled visibly as she processed the content. You expect us to transfer ownership of our home to you, she whispered incredulously. Yes, I confirmed with professional detachment. Complete title transfer. You may continue residing here as formal tenants. We'll establish a proper lease agreement. Rent will reflect fair market value, but I'll deduct your outstanding debt regarding the fraud before payment obligations commence. But this is our residence. Dad objected vehemently. No, I corrected with unwavering resolve. This is the property I fully financed. The home you attempted to misappropriate. The residence you were planning to liquidate for your retirement while leaving me financially devastated. We're your parents, Mom repeated, as though this relationship justified everything. Yes, you are, which precisely explains why I'm offering option 2 rather than pursuing criminal prosecution. Transfer property ownership to me, accept a formal tenant agreement, and we can move forward constructively. Refuse, and I'll pursue full legal remedies. They stared at me as though confronting a stranger. Perhaps they were. The compliant daughter they'd manipulated for decades would never have established such firm boundaries. You have 24 hours to decide, Vanessa stated, gathering her materials. I strongly recommend careful consideration of your limited options. As we departed, Mom called desperately after me. Eliza, please. We remain your family. I turned back one final time. Yes, you are. And family takes care of family, isn't that the principle you consistently emphasized throughout my upbringing? They signed the transfer documents the following day. That was 6 months ago. They continue residing in the house, my house, legally and ethically now. They submit their rent payments punctually, likely fearing eviction if they default. Family dynamics have transformed fundamentally. No more presumptuous financial requests, no more emotional manipulation about filial obligations. They interact with me cautiously now, finally comprehending that their dutiful daughter has developed proper boundaries. Last week, I received a call from Marcus Rivera, the building consultant. He mentioned a potential client seeking to develop a custom residence and inquired if I might consider investment participation. Apparently, my meticulous attention to documentation and process control during the previous project had impressed him professionally. I declined with quiet satisfaction. My capital is now dedicated exclusively to my own ventures. I've resumed progress toward launching my fintech startup, having internalized crucial lessons about family dynamics, trust verification, and the critical importance of documenting everything. Mom and Dad? They've acquired some essential insights as well, about consequences, about genuine respect, about the daughter whose capabilities they severely underestimated. Occasionally I notice them discreetly browsing Florida condominium listings on their tablets, but they no longer verbalize relocation plans. They've learned valuable boundaries. After all, everything we did was supposedly for family.